Hi, folks. A very warm welcome to season 5, episode 1 of the Lemons and Pineapples podcast. Today's episode, I'm going to be sharing how to stop overfunctioning and start to reclaim your energy and your power. This is an episode that is very much aimed at women who are tired of carrying it all at home, at work, with the kids, in relationship. Overfunctioning is a massive problem. It is one of the things that I deal with primarily with the women that I coach. And these are brilliant, capable, very self-sufficient women who are struggling under the weight of all of the stuff they have to do. Women who are overwhelmed, don't have enough time because they are doing it all. And unfortunately, as we know, as a woman who also does it all, there are no rewards being handed out for doing it all. There are none. There's no round of applause. There's no gift hamper. There's no bottle of champagne. You just have to keep getting up and going again and again and again. If overfunctioning is a term that you haven't heard before, overfunctioning is when doing becomes the way you earn belonging, avoid conflict, or prevent yourself being abandoned or rejected. Overfunctioners step in, they sort, they look very much like they have everything under control from the outside, whilst quietly buckling under the weight of all the things they have to carry on the inside and probably feeling really quite resentful in the process. Maybe you recognize yourself in this, in what I share today. It's a really important topic. Like I've said, it's something that comes up often with my coaching clients. It's a behavior pattern that I help people break and I help people get out of. And the way out of it is gently. It isn't about suddenly saying, I'm just going to down tools and not do anything. I mean, if you want to go that route, please be my guest, but it's going to be a very hard route to go. So it is about recognizing where you overfunction, recognizing how this behavior pattern shows up in your life. It's an unconscious behavior pattern. You perhaps have not realized you're doing it, even maybe until you start listening to this and go, oh God, I thought this was normal. It's not. And it's a behavior pattern that is set up from when we are very small. Women who overfunction were often very compliant, very good, very capable, very undemanding children. You perhaps grew up in a house where the love that was given to you was very conditional. So if you get good grades, if you perform, if you tidy up, if you look neat, if you do what we tell you to do and do it, we're going to reward you with love. And if you don't, you're going to be punished. Sets you up to overachieve, overgive, and overfunction as an adult. The other thing that sets up a pattern of overfunctioning is if as a child you learnt that your needs were not reliably met by the adults around you. Maybe they were too busy, maybe they had their own emotional stuff going on, maybe a parent was an alcoholic, maybe a parent was a workaholic. And actually, if you wanted to get your needs met, you had to figure out how to do that for yourself. Overfunctioning is a behavior pattern that is based on fear. It's based on a fear of, if I don't do it, I won't be taken care of. And if I don't do it, I'll disappoint somebody else if I don't do all of the things and I'm not super capable and super brilliant. So it'd be interesting for you to reflect on, as an overfunctioner, which of those two feels the most true that has set up your pattern of overgiving, over-delivering, and over-functioning. Just take a moment to perhaps reflect on that a little bit. I'm talking about this now because it's a very pertinent subject. It's something of a journey that I have been on, of taking myself through the reparenting work, inner child work, self-healing work, and learning to listen to my internal landscape, learning to listen to my emotions, learning to trust my intuition, learning to figure out, do I actually really want to be doing this? And if I don't, how do I not do that? It's learning to not go against your innate instinct. And that has been a journey for me over the past 10 years. It's not an overnight thing that, oh, I suddenly stopped over functioning. But The first step with it is bringing that pattern into conscious awareness. So, where do you do it? How do you do it? And why do you do it? Conscious awareness is one big piece in starting to change what are unconscious behavior patterns. If you don't know about it, you can't change it. But once you know about it, you can start to recognize and become self-aware of when you are starting to do it. Let me give you some examples of how overfunctioning might be showing up for you. And it can happen in all areas of life. It doesn't just have to be in relationship. If you go back through the podcasts, season 4, episode 8 is a podcast all about how to stop overfunctioning in relationships. So that's specifically an episode tailored to romantic relationships. So if you find yourself doing it all and being very resentful of your partner, that is a really good episode to go and listen to. But let's just have a look at how it shows up. So at work, maybe you are the person who takes it all on, while other people let you carry the load. Because guess what? When you overfunction and you are super, super efficient and you get it all done within the time frame, people will just give you more to do. That's how it works. Oh, Emma, so reliable, always gets the job done. Get Emma to do it. So it is a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy, really, when you take on loads of stuff, especially in a work environment, people will just give you more stuff to take on. So it was learning to set boundaries and say, actually, I don't have the capacity to do this. I need so and so to help me, delegating things, saying no to things. If you don't say no, you're going to keep being given things. And you might find you're in a department where your co-workers will say, sorry, I've got stuff to do this weekend. Can't do it, can't work, can't do the extra hours, can't do the overtime because I've got other plans. And you look at them and go, how the hell do they manage to not do it? And I'm the one taking it all on. You're the one taking it all on because you don't say no. So the work there is to start to examine, why don't you feel comfortable or confident enough to say no? What is stopping you from putting a boundary down? What is the fear behind that overfunctioning behavior? You might overfunction at home by doing all of the domestic chores while your partner kind of sits back and watches and doesn't help. Or you step in to sort everybody else's arrangements out at home and you're micromanaging everything. It's one thing to be managing appointments for children. It's another thing to be managing appointments for a husband or a spouse or a partner. The more you take on, the more you invite them to underfunction. Overfunctioners rely on underfunctioners. Underfunctioners rely on overfunctioners. It's this wonderful circle that keeps each role in balance until we change it. There is I talk about in the previous episode, I talked about Harriet Lerner's book. It's called The Dance of Anger, and it's a big piece. It talks about overfunctioning in relationship and how difficult a pattern it is to change because you will often have switchback behaviors from the partner who really doesn't like the fact they have to step up. You'll find that a man or a partner who underfunctions at home is probably perfectly capable of functioning at work. So we know they can do it. They're just choosing not to do it at home because you do it for them. Because maybe they've missed an appointment a couple of times and you've gone, oh, it's my job to make sure they get to the dentist. It's not. It's their job to make sure they get to the dentist. End of story. So it really is about taking conscious control over how much capacity you have to manage another grown adult's schedule. It's their responsibility to manage it, not yours. Stop taking the responsibility on. But again, we can have a look at, why do I feel the need to take on responsibility for making sure my partner makes it to the dentist on time? What consequences do I fear? And the chances are you probably fear the consequences of them being angry because they've missed an appointment. That is their problem. And it being made your problem and your life being made uncomfortable by there being an atmosphere in the house. You can start to unpack what is driving my behavior. Because when you know what drives it, you can start to change it. And the other thing is in relationship with other people. So not just your partner, but maybe you overfunction in a parent dynamic. Maybe you've got elderly parents and you're actually taking on far too much for them because you're worrying about them. You've taken a lot of responsibility for them and it's exhausting you. Maybe you are part of a collection of siblings and you are the sibling who takes on all the responsibility while the others don't. Again, what drives that behavior for you? Why is it that you feel that you have to be the one to carry it all? Sometimes we have to be brave enough to put the burden down and let other people deal with the fallout of the fact that they haven't taken responsibility for themselves. That's very hard when you are somebody who thrives on being compliant, being good, being helpful, and getting your value from that. Overfunctioning is fundamentally a self-worth issue. It's a really big self-worth issue. When you can start to build your self-worth from the inside out, you will feel less inclined to be stepping in and doing things for people in exchange for the validation it gives you, in exchange for feeling useful. Overfunctioners often fear that if I stop doing this, either I won't be needed, I'm going to disappoint, or I'm going to be rejected because I'm not fulfilling a role of being helpful for a person anymore. And really, if we take a step out and we take an overview of that, that's not a healthy relationship if the only reason someone is in relationship with you is for what you can do for them. And it's not a reciprocal give-take relationship. You'd be better off without it. So it's reflecting on how does it show up for you, where does it show up for you, and why do you do it? When we have that information, we can start to instigate positive change in our lives and really step up for ourselves and start to take ownership of our part in it and start to change the behavior. It is exhausting carrying everybody else's burden. The mental gymnastics that happen with overfunctioning in a household of making sure everybody's got everything. Have I done everything? Have I sent a reminder here for this? Has the dog gone to the vet? Has the dog got medication? If you are in a household that's shared with somebody else, but you're carrying all of the domestic load, that's not right. And it will cause you to burn out mentally, emotionally, and possibly physically if you're trying to carry it all. I have put together a really great masterclass that is an expansion on what I've been talking about in this podcast episode. You'll find the link in the show notes. It's free. You can sign up to listen to that, where I go into quite a bit more detail of the actual steps to take to start to shift it. But the one big point I want to share with you, and a question I want to leave you with, as a fellow overfunctioner who's been on the journey to heal it and stop this behavior, is how often are you actually asking for what you need? The common factor, and I used to do it with overfunctioners, is they're so scared to ask for help that they don't. And then that's why everything really becomes a huge burden, because you're not asking for any help. So are you explicitly asking for help? Are you just taking stuff on resentfully? Nobody helps me is a classic overfunctioner phrase. But have you asked anybody to help you? Because nobody can help you if they don't realize you need help. We often think other people are mind readers. So and so should see just how difficult this is for me and how much I've taken on. So and so's busy with their own little life. They're just looking at you and going, whoa. I don't know how she does it. She's so capable. Meanwhile, she's just not asking for any help. So I invite you to have a think about where can you make life easier for yourself right now by having a look at where do I need help and who could I ask? And if it's kind of a real internal struggle for you, what is going on that you don't feel like you can ask for help? And just sit with those questions and reflect on them a little bit and just see if you can get some answers on that. Like I've said at the beginning of the podcast, these are behaviors that are really unconscious. And when we don't really know we're doing them, we can't change them. But as soon as you start to become aware and notice where you overfunction, where you overgive, where you overperform, where you say yes resentfully, where you don't ask for help even though you need it, you can have a look and start to make a plan of how you are going to change things going forward so you don't end up completely and utterly burnt out. So make sure you find the masterclass. The link is in the show notes here and have a listen to that. It'll give you some really good pointers and strategies and practical steps you can take to start to break the pattern of overfunctioning. so that you can really take charge of your life, have sovereignty over what you're doing, and free up some bandwidth for yourself just to make everything feel a bit better. Thank you for joining me, the episode at the start of a new season. I will see you same time next week. Bye for now.